We're one Mississippi where there's a magnolia tree. To Mississippi while a mockingbird sings out on its limb. Oh, and what a sweet soulful hymn. I said 3 Mississippi to this land called home. I'll bleed Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Won't you carry on? I'll carry on. Mississippi, Mississippi. Mississippi.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi. Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV. What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors. Hear the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. He says, about a night and a day in Key West, I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out of my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up, and I'm hungover, and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like this. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Gardening is one of the most popular hobbies in America, with the average gardener spending 5 hours a week in the garden. In Mississippi, keeping a healthy, beautiful garden is practically an obsession. But if you have questions about gardening, there's no better person to answer them than the garden mama, Nellie Neal. So whether it's gardening basics or troubles for the more experienced gardeners out there, the Garden Mama has the answers for you. Saturday morning starting at 8 on SuperTalk Mississippi and SuperTalk TV. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi. He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Hey, I was on Facebook this morning, and I came across a note, a post actually on Facebook by a friend of mine named David Mike. We went to high school together. I've enjoyed staying in touch with David because he's such a positive guy. But he wrote this. This is simple. Do good things. Be kind, not mean. Heal, don't hurt. Love, don't hate. Create instead of destroying. Do these things to be happy, successful, and loved. This is such a simple but powerful statement. And I thought it was so appropriate, actually, when I read that, because I had been preparing for a really important conversation that I want to have today that has very significant implications to young people all across Mississippi, and especially here in coastal Mississippi. And here's what happened. I have a very dear friend here in coastal Mississippi. Her name is Romy Hall. I've known her for many, many years. She's very close to my family, and think the world of her and her family. She shared some information with me about some speeches that were given recently, a series of speeches actually, by a man by the name of Craig Scott. Now, Craig is a Columbine survivor, and he has a very compelling story to tell about his experience, but especially the experience of his sister as well. His sister was tragically killed on that day. In fact, she was the first person killed by the shooters. As you may remember the story, 12 students were killed, one teacher, 21 were injured by gunshots. I think additional 3 others were injured trying to escape. Maybe there were more. But at the time, Columbine, and we know that story well, was the deadliest school shooting in the U.S. And now it has created sort of this unfortunate copycat approach that school shootings have taken around the world, and we actually call that the Columbine effect. It's sort of a sad and tragic ripple effect that has come out of that. But Craig's sister Rachel, her story is incredible actually, and it has touched more than 30 million people since her tragic death. But it is touching and it is inspiring. So Rachel left a legacy, and as you'll hear from Craig here in a second, she sort of foresaw that she may actually leave such a legacy, but she left some powerful messages that inspired Craig and his family, and they have been on a life mission since. Their mission is to sort of create a positive ripple effect. And Craig himself has talked to over 1 million people. As I mentioned, his story, his sister Rachel's story has touched over 30 million. And it's a message of love and kindness, and it is something that has brought Craig and his family into settings that have created for them a really compelling, alarming, and really important observation about the pressure that kids are under these days. Just here in coastal Mississippi, kids that attended his speeches have had to live with suicide or attempted suicide, drug use, violence, as I mentioned, self-harm, some in despair. But this is the tragedy. Even some in coastal Mississippi, believe it or not, came here from schools where there were school shootings. You wouldn't think about coastal Mississippi having a direct connection to school shootings. But Craig's mission has really started a powerful dialogue with students and teachers and administrators and mental health professionals. And so I decided after my friend Romy told me about Craig to invite him to join us on Coast Vue. Now, look, he does a lot of interviews all across the United States. It's rare for him to grant an opportunity like we're going to have today to talk a little bit more deeply about what he's learning. But I think, as we approach Christmas and you have family and friends coming together, maybe there's a message from the conversation we're going to have today that would inspire you to reach out to your family or friends who may need help and maybe have conversations about some of these things so that we can begin to really control our own destiny in a much more positive way. So his goal is to create a ripple effect, and I sort of want to be part of that. So without any further ado, let me bring my new friend Craig back into the conversation. Craig, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Ricky, thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing well.
So, man, it's been a lot has happened since the Columbine tragedy, but you guys got a lot of inspiration from it. And the interest in you and your sister's message continues today because it's a powerful message. Kind of could tell people sort of where you are today with the message that you're delivering.
I probably have two key messages that I share with people, with students. One is about that we each have incredible inherent built-in value that's there since we were born. It's not based on what we look like or what other people say about us, or even our skills or abilities or how smart we are. Now, our value to others in the world might be based on things that we do or things that we give, but we have value that's always built in, that's inherent. And that's important for people to believe about themselves, that I am incredibly valuable, not in an egotistical way. It's really important for teenagers because suicide is a second leading cause of death amongst teenagers in our country. And I have a book of over 10,000 emails from kids that have sent in that had contemplated suicide, that heard my story and my sister's story and had a change of heart. And I've seen kind of two themes or two lies that suicidal thinking will tell you. First lie is life's not worth living. This pain I'm in is permanent. I should just get out. And the second lie is I'm a loser. I have no value. I'm worthless. So those are the two consistent lies that people will believe in. And the first thing I tell someone that's dealing with that is just you can't change your emotions until you change your thoughts. All emotions follow thought. So just recognize that those are lies. So that's my first message is you have incredible value and so does everyone else. And then the second one is what you place attention on, you give power to, whatever it is. And that's so important because we have whatever we want to focus on. We can get on the internet and see whatever we want to. And even children at a young age, some of them have parental guides, but some of them don't. And but we're able to see whatever it is that we want to. Whatever we focus on, we give power to. And I'll give a small example of that in a negative way.
Yeah.
In 2018, a school shooting happened in Florida at Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida, and over 20 students were killed. It was terrible. After that happened, every time a shooting happened, every school shooting for like the next year, the news picked up on it and shared about it. So because of all this attention on school shootings, we had a ton of money being raised for school security to try to stop school shootings. We had national school shooter drills, even for little kids. We had thousands of, I would go speak at schools. I have tons of parents, teachers, kids afraid to go to a school because of a school shooting. But the actual statistic of someone dying in a school shooting is 0.00035. And a person is 10,000 times more likely to die by going on their way to school than in a school shooting. So it's really an unrealistic fear. But why was this fear? Why we were doing so much action? Now, I believe in school safety, but all this money has been put into trying to stop school shootings when really suicide dwarfs the number of lives lost. And there's more money put into that than there is towards things like I do, mental health and creating a culture at the school and dealing with character education. So, whatever we place attention on, we give power to. And so those are my two main messages. You have incredible and value, believe it about yourself, and so does everyone else. And then what you place your attention on, you give power to. So choose what you're focusing on, wisely.
Listen, there's some great videos up about your story, how your sister really inspired you and your family. I look at the pictures of her, incidentally, and I see such a glow in her eyes. She had a gift that at the time you didn't appreciate or didn't really understand, but that gift is as much alive today as it was then. It's powerful, isn't it?
Well, she had a sense about her life. She had 7 journals, and we found in her writings kind of 2 themes in them. And one was she felt like God was going to use her to impact millions of people. When she was 13, she traced her hands like this, and in the center of one of her hands, she wrote, "These hands belong to Rachel Joy Scott and will someday touch millions of people's hearts." And at the same time, she felt like she wasn't going to live to be very old. She, in fact, thought, she told my other sister and cousins she didn't think she would live old enough to get married. And she was one of those girls that was questioned about her faith before she was killed. There was some skepticism as to whether that happened, because the boy that was with her, he went into a coma, and he woke up. The first thing he did is say, "Where's Rachel?" And then he told his family what happened to her, but then he slipped back into a coma, and when he woke up the next time, he didn't remember. So his account never made it into a police report, but we know that.
Let's do this. Let's do this. I don't want to cut the conversation as it relates to Rachel short. This is Craig Scott, a Columbine survivor who has gone on a mission to inspire people. And we're talking about his sister and her legacy. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. SuperTalk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, "Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi" at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Get the news that matters to Mississippi on Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Each weekday starting at 10 a.m., Gerard brings you a spirited debate on the key stories of the day with the newsmakers and powerful reporting on the issues you care about. Listen on your local SuperTalk station or anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi. And watch the show live on C Spire Channel 70, SuperTalk TV, and on the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Gardening is one of the most popular hobbies in America, with the average gardener spending 5 hours a week in the garden. In Mississippi, keeping a healthy, beautiful garden is practically an obsession. But if you have questions about gardening, there's no better person to answer them than the garden mama, Nellie Neal. So whether it's gardening basics or troubles for the more experienced gardeners out there, the Garden Mama has the answers for you. Saturday morning starting at 8 on SuperTalk Mississippi and SuperTalk TV.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
His love for the coast is why he's here. It's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have my new friend, Craig Scott, who is a Columbine survivor. His sister, unfortunately, was the actually first person killed that day. And they've taken an incredibly impacting moment in his family's life and turned it into something incredibly positive. So not only do they sort of teach a really on a mission of kindness and hope, but what they've learned over these many years about the needs of students and where the focus needs to be in terms of helping young people who have challenges is really compelling. Did you ever think, I guess at the time you did sort of go on a mission and you did say this was going to be your life's work, but with all these years having gone by, here you are sitting still with that powerful message. You meant it, didn't you?
Yeah, I really felt a sense of calling, mission, that I was going to tell this story as long as it was making an impact. I'm a person of faith, and I felt in prayer that I was given a promise that every time I told my sister's story, it would have an impact. And it didn't matter what audience I was in front of. I could be in front of an all-black school in Chicago where I'm the only white person there. I could be in rural Kansas or Wyoming or in New York City. Every time I've told the story, it's had an impact. And that's the power of story and the power, I believe I've seen what I call an anointing on my sister's story.
Yeah, it is. Hey, when we went to break, though, you were mentioning that the young man who was shot and survived when your sister was killed, his account never made it into the police report. That's where you are, and we had to cut off and move to this next section. But why don't you pick it up from there? Yeah.
The last moments of my sister's life, according to the boy that was with her when he first woke up from his coma, he told what happened to his mom and his grandparents. And Rachel and the shooters knew each other. They had a class together. In fact, Dylan, one of the shooters, spotlighted her in a play just 2 weeks before the shooting. And but in the last moments of her life, they were mocked. They shot her from a distance. Then they were mocking her for her faith. Then the last moment was Eric picked her up by her hair and said, "Do you still believe in God?" And she said, "You know I do." And he said, "Well, go be with him." And she took her last shot with execution style. And so she's been considered a martyr. But I don't really even share about her faith so much in schools. I share about the kind things that she did for other people. At her funeral, we had person after person, student after student talking about little things that she had done. She sat by a girl that was sitting all alone at lunch that no one knew, that had just lost her mom in a car accident. She stuck up for a boy who had a disability, who usually was ignored. And every day in the hallway, she would say hi to him. She had no idea. He told my family that saved his life, that he was thinking about taking his life. And then after this pretty girl in the hallway would say hi to him every day, it kept him going. But just story after story. And then we saw all these incredible writings that she had in her journals that she left behind, really deep for her age. And so my father and I put together a program called Rachel's Challenge. That's now the largest school assembly program in the country. And now I have my own program, and I am partnered with my dad's. But it's a real privilege. There's not a lot of people that can say on a weekly basis that you really change people's hearts and that you change cultures of places. I have superintendents and principals tell me, you affected the culture of our school for months or even an entire year. And so that's my goal when I go to schools, is to affect that culture.
So someone wrote actually of your time here in coastal Mississippi that the ripple started, each session thereafter grew, students, teachers, administrators, sponsors, press, whoever was in his sessions, you could see their focus on Craig, on his message, on his story, on his passion to reverse the ripple, which is, something that's been really important to you. That's written by Stephen East. And the heading on this was Gulfport Behavioral Health System. But, people might be a little skeptical when you come. They don't really appreciate the message, but you're delivering that so sincerely and so empathetically. And it's so full now. It's so far beyond Columbine. Columbine set the stage, and your sister's inspiration set the stage. But what has happened is this awareness of what pressures are on young people today, and how this stage that you have now can help sort of set the stage for having conversations locally about how to address some of the challenges that people are facing. It really has advanced a lot since those days, hasn't it?
Yeah, incredibly. Technology changed things for young people. I think that one of the biggest things is just constant information and constant and so many influences, and there's so much negativity, and you see things. When we all grew up, you would hear if something horrible, terrible happened halfway across the world, you'd probably never know about it. Today, not only do you know about it, it's captured on video and it's viral within an hour. And so at a young age, people are seeing a lot of stuff and a lot of negative stuff. And even like young kids today are seeing hardcore pornography, getting exposed to that kind. And whatever we see impacts us. We are imitative creatures. We are impressionable. And so the reason I think that the kids have one of their big challenges today is, again, what are you focused on? What you place attention on, you give power to. So one of my challenges is choose positive influences, because they all agree. They all see that there's so much negative. There's so much shallow stuff that really debases the morale, the character, all the good things that you'd want in a good heart of a person if you just are inundated by all this negative media.
Hey, when you do your travels, are you impressed that more and more teachers and administrators and others are focused on these stresses that young people are under and working hard to do something about it?
I am glad to see that we have really brought mental health more into education. You have to understand that we were number one in the world at one point in education. My father is a scholar in American history and specialized in American education. And for nearly 200 years, the United States was number one in the world as a first world nation in education. When we were number one, the focus of our educational system was first and foremost character. They had a saying that every educator knew for hundreds of years, and it was the 3 H's. It was the heart, the head, and the hands. And they believed that first you were to teach the heart of students. And they ingrained that in our education. I mean, teachings of integrity, courage, honesty, compassion, these core values. Now, it was also mixed in with religious principle. So in 1960s, we started to remove, 1963, we started to remove God and religion from school. And I don't think we can put that back in. But the problem was we also started to remove all those teachings of values and principles that went along with it. And so today, our educational system has just been focused on knowledge or academic achievement, but we're nowhere near the top. And the biggest thing that leaves with students when they graduate is their character, is the condition of their heart. And so I am glad to see that educators are wising up and including more mental health. You can call it mental health. I think it's spiritual. I think it's also character. It's not just all emotions.
Yeah.
It's not just, when we talk about mental health, we tend to think about just emotional state of being, but it's more than that. It's also, the health of our mind includes, the values that we live by.
Hey, so Kyle, how are we doing on time? Are we at the end of this segment?
1:50 left.
Why don't we, if you don't mind, we won't take you much longer, but what I want to do, if you don't mind, is your simple, important message about appreciating the people around you. Your message to kids to show love and kindness to those around you and how important that is. Would you mind if we came back and let you just deliver that part of the message, and then we'll let you go? This is Craig Scott, Columbine Survivor, and I really appreciate him spending time with us today. But he's got a very powerful message to sort of end this conversation, and we'll complete that after this session.
Subscribe for free to the Coast Vue podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get the news that matters to Mississippi on Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Each weekday starting at 10 a.m., Gerard brings you a spirited debate on the key stories of the day with the newsmakers and powerful reporting on the issues you care about. Listen on your local SuperTalk station or anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi. And watch the show live on C Spire Channel 70, SuperTalk TV, and on the SuperTalk Mississippi app.
These are our friends. These are our neighbors. We all have the power to grow our local economy and energize our community. Shop small businesses and make a difference.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer-songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. Gardening is one of the most popular hobbies in America, with the average gardener spending 5 hours a week in the garden. In Mississippi, keeping a healthy, beautiful garden is practically an obsession. But if you have questions about gardening, there's no better person to answer them than the garden mama, Nellie Neal. So whether it's gardening basics or troubles for the more experienced gardeners out there, the Garden Mama has the answers for you. Saturday morning starting at 8 on SuperTalk Mississippi and SuperTalk TV.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi. You know that nowadays, most people go online to look at a business before they spend their money. Are customers able to find you online? With the power of SuperTalk Mississippi Media Digital, you can reach potential customers and get more referral and repeat business. SuperTalk Mississippi Media Digital's highly trained and trusted staff is ready to work with you to help your business capitalize on the power of digital marketing. Call 601-991-2305 or go to stmmdigital.com to get started today.
SuperTalk Mississippi. Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
We're one Mississippi where there's a magnolia tree. Two Mississippi while a mockingbird sings out on its limb. Oh, and what a sweet soulful hymn. I said 3 Mississippi to this land called home. I'll bleed Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Won't you carry on? I'll carry Mississippi, Mississippi. Mississippi.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue as we have this really important conversation with my friend Craig Scott. And I want to, Craig, if you don't mind, I want to take a quick step back because we'll get back on sort of the flow of the conversation in just a second. But you heard me mention at the beginning of the show that it was Romy Hall. My family and I have known Romy and her family for many years, but it was Romy who inspired me to learn more about you and your message. And she sent me a lot of information, how people were responding to you down here, the kind of pressures that kids are going through. She did a great job of documenting that for me and sent me some videos to watch. And I was really inspired. And I honestly, I didn't necessarily just want to tell the story about Columbine. People can go online and find all they want to find about that. But what really inspired me about what you're doing is really focusing on the kind of pressures that kids are going through today. And we're gonna move in just a second to what your core message is around creating a positive environment for kids. But coming back to Romy, she's a special woman, isn't she, my friend?
She's incredible. I mean, it's amazing to see somebody in a community. I mean, it's not her job, but she's literally treated it like a full-time job to impact teens and people with this message. And she brought me in, and I've done over 30 presentations in Southern Mississippi area. Yeah. And it's just a beginning. She wants me to, her goal is for me to try to get into every school in Mississippi.
Wow. I mean, that's so powerful. But what makes that so solid, what you just said, and what I've observed about Romy Hall is the fact that one person can make a difference, can really make a difference. And you've been all over the country. You've met so many people. You've talked to over 1 million people. Your sister's message has gone to 30 million. For you to see that something special in Romy, the way that you just described it, it really is going to mean a lot to her. And it certainly means a lot to me that you make that observation. Look, we were ground zero for Hurricane Katrina, buddy. And what we learned as a result of that is that what's in the heart and minds of people in coastal Mississippi is this willingness, this determination to help our neighbors. We are incredibly resilient people. We've seen the worst. When in the aftermath of Katrina, when we didn't have lights and it redefined what poor was because so many homes were washed away, it created in us a real determination to help our neighbors, and it didn't matter about political affiliation. It didn't matter about race. It's an amazing learning. And when you go through that, as we did, it creates a lot of people like Romy, people who are this, as President Bush used to talk about, the 1,000 points of light, people who want to make a difference, who want to fill the gaps, who see a need in the community and want to close it. And I think it's really special, this relationship that you and she has developed. And then to read about the impact of your message, you don't want to be one and done. You don't want to come in and give a speech and people leave there and say, I feel good. What did he say? You want people to leave there and say, he gave me some tools that have changed my life. He's given us as administrators something to think about. We got to be focused more on this. We got to think more about the kind of pressures on kids that cause them to either commit suicide or attempt suicide. I mean, it's so important that we focus on that. And in this day of social media, I can't say how important it is. So anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I really admire this relationship that you and Romy have developed. So let's do this. At the nut of it, when you're all said and done, what's the most important message that you want kids to hear from Craig Scott?
Well, the most important message is value of human life, is that we have a built-in inherent value. A story that I share is the last story with my sister. She was waiting for me in the car. Once again, I was in the bathroom perfecting my hair. And I was always making us late to school. When we got into the car, we got into an argument, into a fight. I started to call her names. And the last moment I had was calling her some names. And I got out of the car and slammed the car door shut on her. And that's the last time I ever saw her. And so I have a challenge to teens. And at the very end of my presentation, I get them to close their eyes and imagine all the people that they care about, all the people that they love, and see their faces and see them smiling back at them. And imagine for a moment that it's their last time with them, and ask, how am I treating these people? As we go into the holiday season, treat this season like it could be your last one with your friends and your family. Sometimes for holidays, for a lot of people, sometimes they want to, they get depressed. And when we are feeling down, we actually disconnect from other people. But just imagine that it is your last season, a last Christmas time, holiday season that you'll ever have. And then what would you say to those people? Tell them how much you appreciate them, how much you care about them, how much you love them. Maybe you do that on a regular basis. Maybe you haven't done that in a long time. But communicate that to people, because it matters. People need encouragement today. In fact, I literally think that some people are dying because of a lack of encouragement in their life. And so you can breathe life. You can speak life into people. I do it all the time. I have kids that come up to me after presentations and talk to me about all their problems. And I've had students that have had suicidal thoughts. And I'll breathe life into them. I'll speak words. I'll listen first, but then I breathe life, and I watch their eyes light up. I watch their shoulders roll back. And so treat this season like it's your last. It sounds cliche, but if you do it, you're going to be so glad that you did. And other people are going to be so glad that you did.
When a child walks up to you and shares with you their suicidal thoughts, as you're breathing new life into them, letting them know they're special and that people care about them, and that, however you say it, I bet what that does is it puts fuel in your fire to say, wow, I got to do this again, and I got to do this again and again and again. And that's the ripple that you guys wanted to create. That's the ripple that Rachel wanted to create. And it's incredible how real that is, isn't it?
Yeah, we all start chain reactions. A lot of chain reactions we're not, a ripple effect we're not aware of. My sister actually wrote a paper a month before she was killed. She titled it My Ethics, My Codes of Life. And in it, she talked about if she were her best self, the kind of character she would have, the kind of person she would be. She talked about seeing the good in life, seeing the good in other people, not being quick to judge or label them, showing forgiveness to people that had wronged her. And she also wrote, I have this theory that if one person will go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. And people will never know how far a little kindness can go. And at the end of the essay, she says, you just may start a chain reaction. So start a chain reaction with people. You know, we've all know what it's like to someone to talk bad about us and insult us. And that person might forget about it right after it's over. But the person that's received it, it can affect their entire day. They could be thinking about it for the entire week or month. We start chain reactions. So, you know, start a positive chain reaction. Be a part of my sister's chain reaction. She was challenging a chain reaction of kindness and compassion.
So it's such a powerful message, and it's the kind of message that young people need to hear today. And you think about, you know, my dad died when I was 21 years old, and it was a sudden death. And I made a lot of choices in my life at that point. And one of the choices was to make him proud, you know. And I have to tell you, there were key points in my life as I reached these goals attained where I almost felt his presence, almost like a guardian angel. Do you feel Rachel's presence like a guardian angel at times?
You know, I do. Every once in a while, I felt like she's smiling at me, you know, watching the work that I'm getting to do because of her story. And, you know, I could have easily been killed that day myself. I was in the school library where 10 students were killed around me. I had 2 buddies killed right next to me underneath the table. I barely escaped with my own life, only to learn that my sister was the first one killed. So I felt like while God was taking her life into his hands, he was sparing me. In fact, he spoke to me and told me, get out of there. And I led a group of students out. And as we were running out of the emergency exit, the shooters came back into the room that we were in. And so we got out of there just in time. Yeah, I do feel, you know, every once in a while, I just, you know, you can't explain it, but you just feel like, I feel like, you know, she's every once in a while, she's looking down, she's smiling, you know, like proud of you, little bro. So
it's an amazing story, and to see the tracing of her hand and what she wrote on that in the midst of all this, you can't. Sometimes some things you can never explain. You know, there's a divine presence in everything, but in that there's a significant divine presence. And all you can do now, and what you and your dad, and I'm sure many others now who have been inspired by your message can do now, is go on a mission to save the lives of other young people. And that takes so many different forms. You don't know these seeds that you're planting, how these vines are spreading in these communities and in these families and inside these people's that you're talking to soul. It makes a difference. It just makes a difference. And the fact that you and I are sitting on this conversation today, you know, I was inspired by it. You know, that this young man from Colorado could experience such a tragedy and so many years later be having a conversation in you know, coastal Mississippi about it. But think about that for a minute. That's legacy. That's what legacy is. But hey, man, we're at the end of our time together, but it has been a genuine pleasure to spend some time with you. This is exactly what I hoped the conversation would be. And I hope that others will spread the message, share this video with their friends, and urge them to watch it. You never know who's going to be touched by it. So anyway, without you know, going any further, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. If there's any educators listening and they want the program at their school, just visit craigscott.org. And I'd love to come to your school and share this amazing story and program.
You bet, buddy. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday and a great new year. Continue to spread your message. And for the people of coastal Mississippi, we'll see you after this break.
You know that nowadays, most people go online to look at a business before they spend their money. Are customers able to find you online? With the power of SuperTalk Mississippi Media Digital, you can reach potential customers and get more referral and repeat business. SuperTalk Mississippi Media Digital's highly trained and trusted staff is ready to work with you to help your business capitalize on the power of digital marketing. Call 601-991-2305 or go to stmmdigital.com to get started today.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Get the news that matters to Mississippi on Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Each weekday starting at 10 a.m., Gerard brings you a spirited debate on the key stories of the day with the newsmakers and powerful reporting on the issues you care about. Listen on your local SuperTalk station or anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi. And watch the show live on C Spire Channel 70, SuperTalk TV, and on the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
SuperTalk Mississippi. Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth. When you want the truth. Simply because it might hurt some feelings. And nothing but the truth. Lose some subscribers. You want the Gallo Radio Show. I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead. The Gallo Radio Show. And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. Just looking back on that conversation, I just wow. And I'm not at all surprised, to be honest with you. I was very inspired when Romy Hall sent me information about Craig. Watched his videos, watched his story, watched the story of his sister. And watch the sort of the evolution of their work over many, many years, and the fact that they've touched over 30 million students with their story. It's truly remarkable. And to have come out of that Columbine tragedy with the goal to create a positive ripple effect in the way that his sister has sort of intimated when she did that tracing of her hand, just wow. And if you have to plant seeds with this, and for me, it planted a seed for Coast Vue to continue to talk to professionals and young people about what we can all do to cut down on the number of kids who are facing the threat of suicide or whatever else that might be affecting them in their lives. Man, powerful conversation. Hey, let me bring up my friend Cal Curley in for just a second. And first of all, say, how you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Hey, man, you never know where the conversations are going to go, do you?
No, I was kind of not worried, but I was wondering too. It's like he said, you said you can always go back and look and find any information you want to find about Columbine, but Scott is much more than that. His message going forward is much more than that, and I believe that kids these days really need to have more information put out like Craig Scott's doing. I think there's a lot of pressure on them, a lot of pressure on today's kids. They see all of these influencers. They're all on TikTok, and they're all trying to be, I guess, a camera-ready person that's not always achievable 24 hours. They're trying to put it in 60-second or 120-second clips, and it's very hard to keep that up.
And, it was bad enough before we had social media. Kids were under pressure before we had social media, but now you have, them putting themselves out there for the public to comment and shame them or whatever they're going to do to them. Kids internalize. They're not, so many kids, so many young people who are on social media are not ready to be on social media. And the compounding effect of that, we already know. The studies are very clear. It's significant, the damage that's happening. So it's good to see that Craig's work has evolved dramatically over the times, and he's listening to sort of where kids are today and has the appropriate message for where they are today. I mean, Columbine sets the stage for him to be able to have these conversations, but he's so here and now in his observations.
Yeah, and I share his optimism and his vision of where education should be and what their role should be in this, and to focus more on mental health, especially among students that age. Again, it all goes back to the pressures of being camera ready with TikTok and everything else, but let's focus on the real problem instead of trying to restrict access to whatever it is. The real problem is mental health. The real problem is within the person that is committing these things. That's where I'm at. You need to really focus on the mental side of students, and they're all battling something. Every person that comes to school is battling something at home that you don't know about. And for his sister to say hi and to do the things that she was doing, we need more of that. More of the
we need more of that. Yeah, so powerfully said. You're right. I mean, we say it on the show all the time. You never know what someone's going through, and that's certainly true with kids. But imagine these kids, after he speaks, that come up to him to say that they've contemplated, suicide, and that he has this opportunity to bring life back into them. And he takes that so seriously. And educators understand that. They're working in that realm as well. And I know that administrators are working on it. But his point about the evolution of education, how we've gotten away from character building, we've taken religion out of the classroom and blah, blah, blah. We're only focused on the learning. We're missing out on such an important part of kids' development, and we're letting social media be the thing that actually develops them when parents are not there to do that. So it's a tough situation.
Yeah, it really is. Every parent rides that thin line of, at what point do we give our child a phone, and at what point do we take the controls away from that phone to where they have access to everything, and how far do you, and that's going to be on a case-by-case basis. You really can't set a standard. Hey, okay, at 12, we're getting a phone. At 15, we're getting an iPad. You can't do that. It all depends on how the home life is, really.
I would really encourage our radio listeners as we come to the end of the program today to go to YouTube or to Facebook and grab this video and share it with your family. Share it with friends that you know are having some struggles, because Craig gives some great advice later in there about, do an exercise in your mind. If this were your last holidays, how would you treat the people around you? And he gives you some things to think about. And I think it's powerful. So share it, please. I think you'll be glad you did. Anyway, thanks for all you do, Kyle. And we'll see you tomorrow, my friend.
You bet. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.